All right. Yeah. Um, let's slow this down again because this kind of moment, um, it deserves space. It deserves breath. When everything feels loud, the only way to really understand what's happening is to pause, connect the dots, and actually think. So, um, start with Budapest. Yeah, mass protests in Hungary don't just appear overnight. That's not how that society works. Hungary isn't a place where people casually flood the streets every time there's a scandal. When you see tens of thousands of people showing up again and again, um, something structural has failed. And um, that failure didn't start last week. It's been building for years. Researchers at places like Freedom House, the European Parliament, Reuters, they've all documented how Viktor Orban systematically weakened judicial independence, consolidated media ownership under loyalists, and fused political power with economic privilege. That's not opinion. That's record. Orban calls it illiberal democracy. Um, yeah. Um, Political scientists call it competitive authoritarianism. Same mechanics. Elections still happen, technically, but the system is rigged before the first vote is cast. And here's the thing. Um, Orban didn't invent this. He copied it from Putin, from Russia, and Donald Trump. Yeah. Trump admired it publicly, repeatedly. He praised Orban as strong. Orban praised Trump as courageous. That wasn't flattery. That was mutual recognition. Like, you see what I'm doing? I see what you're doing. And now, fast forward. What pushed Hungary over the edge wasn't ideology alone. It was exposure. Investigative journalists uncovered abuse inside institutions meant to protect children. Juvenile systems turned into exploitation networks. Whistleblowers ignored. Victims silenced. And once the evidence stacked up, documents, testimonies, patterns, the moral contradiction collapsed. And when that happens, yeah, people don't argue anymore. They show up. Because nothing mobilizes a population faster than hypocrisy combined with cruelty, especially when leaders claim to be moral guardians while shielding abuse. History shows this every time. Now, um, uh, hold that picture and shift back to the United States. While Budapest was boiling, there was a live crisis here. A shooting connected to Brown University in Rhode Island. Active threat. Shelter-in-place orders. Law enforcement doing what they always do in those moments. Limit speculation. Centralize updates. Verify facts. That's not politics. That's survival protocol. And yet, Donald Trump went online. He posted that the shooter was in custody. He said he'd been briefed. That wasn't true. Local officials contradicted him. The mayor of Providence had to publicly tell people not to trust unofficial information and to rely on city channels instead. Just sit with that for a second. Yeah.
As I mentioned at the press briefing before this, I'll reiterate right now. In this day and age, there is a lot of misinformation that can spread as it pertains to official updates regarding the shelter in place or any future announcements. Please follow the City of Providence official social media channels. We've also put out updates through our 311 system, but the City of Providence on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram will be updating throughout the evening. If that did not come from an official channel, then it is not official. Right now, the shelter in place is the same as it had been earlier, and it remains the same.
The President of the United States being treated as a source of misinformation during an active emergency. That's not normal. That's not noise. That's epistemic breakdown. The collapse of shared reality. Modern societies function on trust during crises. Sociologists, behavioral economists, disaster response experts, they all agree on this. When people stop believing official guidance, panic spreads, compliance drops, and risk multiplies. False reassurance can literally get people killed. And that brings us back to guns. America's different, not because of violence, not because of mental illness, but because of access, scale, density. Data from the CDC, the FBI, and peer-reviewed medical journals all point in the same direction. Firearm availability increases lethality. During the federal assault weapons ban, mass shooting deaths declined after it expired. They rose. The mechanisms are obvious rate of fire, magazine capacity, ease of acquisition. Yet instead of policy, we got theater, lawmakers posing with rifles, wearing AR pins, turning weapons into cultural identity markers. That's not governance. That's branding. And branding doesn't stop bullets. Now zoom out again. Yeah, because this is where the systems connect. Hungary and the United States aren't linked by geography. They're linked by strategy. Authoritarian movements study each other. They borrow language. They replicate tactics. Orban's rhetoric about protecting children mirrors MAGA rhetoric almost word for word. The framing of enemies as globalists, elites, or traitors is identical. That's not coincidence. That's transmission. And here's the paradox, the one people miss. These movements claim to restore order, but they thrive on chaos. They promise safety, yet generate insecurity. They claim moral authority, yet repeatedly shield abusers over and over. Now let's talk foreign policy. Yeah, because this matters. Trump calls himself the peace president, but peace isn't declared. It's negotiated, signed, enforced, monitored. When you look at actual conflicts, the claims don't match reality. Gaza, there is no signed ceasefire recognized by both parties. Reporting from the UN, AP, and Reuters confirms ongoing violence in unresolved political terms. Thailand and Cambodia, Trump claimed credit for stabilizing a conflict he didn't broker. Regional diplomacy, ASEAN actors, China, Malaysia handled that. When fighting resumed, Thai officials publicly contradicted Trump's statements. That's not leadership. That's branding. Congo and Rwanda. The M23 conflict continues. Refugees continue to flee. UN peacekeepers remain deployed. No resolution. Ukraine. The promise to end the war in 24 hours was never plausible. Wars end on terms, not timelines. Russia continues escalating attacks on civilian infrastructure. Ukraine has achieved tactical drone successes. Yes, but the war is still raging. Then the UN votes. 153 countries vote to protect humanitarian workers. The United States votes no. Alone. Russia abstains. The US stands isolated. That's not nuance. That's alignment. The day before, the US votes alongside Russia, China, Belarus, and Cuba against cooperation on mitigating Chernobyl's consequences. These votes are public. They shape legitimacy, funding, coordination. Now, Syria. Initial claims blamed ISIS for an ambush killing U.S. personnel. Later reporting linked the attack to individuals associated with the Syrian transitional government, led by Ahmed al-Shara, formerly al-Golani, once designated with a multi-million-dollar bounty as a terrorist leader. Trump welcomed this man into the Oval Office, treated him warmly, publicly.
Men's fragrance. Yeah. This is what. No. It's the best fragrance. Come here, man.
I have no one here, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do is just take that, Joe, put it in, and then the other one is for your wife. How many ones? You guys I never know, right?
Contrast that with how Trump treated Democratic allies. Zelensky humiliated. European leaders berated. Authoritarian figures flattered. That's not accidental. That's preference. Now, public health. Measles cases surged in 2025. CDC data confirms it. Public health experts link it directly to declining vaccination rates driven by misinformation. This didn't come out of nowhere. It's the downstream effect of eroding trust in science and institutions. Biology doesn't care about ideology. Viruses don't negotiate. And while all of this is happening, what's the focus? Golf courses, public golf courses in Washington, D.C., targeted for takeover. Trump branding, exclusive access. Political economists call this state capture, redirecting public assets for private benefit while the population absorbs stress. Housing unaffordable. Rent soaring. Job losses up more than 50% year over year. Over 1 million jobs gone. Recession level pain. These aren't numbers. They're lives. And yet, disinformation posts, perfume theatrics, golf announcements. So, when people ask whether Trump is in panic mode, the answer isn't emotional. It's structural. He is, because when systems built on illusion collide with reality, panic is inevitable. When protests spread internationally, when lies are contradicted in real time, when institutions stop bending, when facts keep winning, that's panic. And here's the part to really remember. This isn't left versus right. It's reality versus narrative. Systems either align with truth or they fracture under its weight. There is no third option. So if you're listening right now, pay attention. Verify claims. Support accountability. Share information grounded in evidence. If you want analysis instead of noise, facts instead of spin, stay subscribed. Share this. Stay engaged. Systems don't fix themselves. People do. We're in this together.